Welcome to the pre-dawn delight that is the African bush. I'm sitting just outside camp using my ears to try find lions. We've heard some roaring to the north and James is rushing on his way there. This is Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Welcome, my name is Brent and I have Eggsy or Zander on camera on this fine morning. We are live in the middle of the African bush and James is heading to where I heard some lions roaring probably about 10 minutes ago. And remember, we're live and interactive, so if you want to know how I know it was a lion, what noises am I listening for, pop us an email, questions@wildearth.tv, or use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. So the Nkuhuma pride, which is our main pride of females, sort of gave us a bit of a runaround on the sunset safari yesterday. We found their tracks quite late in the center of Djuma, and the sun was setting, so I decided discretion is the better part of valor, and I didn't want to go poke around in some thickets at the time of the day where lions become the dominant predator. So James is headed off to where we heard that lion calling. I'm going to go back to where I had last tracks and see if I find any tracks in that area. Very exciting. The pride currently has 8 wonderful little cubs, and they are just the most picture-perfect postcard lion cubs you could ever get. So a really, really exciting drive ahead. Hopefully the big cats play along. But there's always lots of other creatures to look at. Elephants, buffalo, zebra, wildebeest, and of course all the birds and smaller things. But we are ecstatic to have you on the live safari. And let me hand you over to my partner in crime on this sunrise safari, who wants to bid you a good morning.
I think it's a bit rough calling somebody a criminal at this time of the morning, but there it is. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this end of the Sunrise Safari. It's a joy to have you with us. That is the waterbuck. He's being particularly rude by not facing you this morning to say hello. Also over there, we have a nyala bull, a mixed suite of bachelors waiting here for the sun to come up. Most relieved, no doubt, that they did not encounter lions or leopards or hyenas last night. And if they did, they managed to survive. Let me turn the light off the poor fellow. He hasn't realized he is now on the stage. My name is James Hendry, in case you're wondering, and on camera today is Brian Joubert, all 6'4" of him, and a pretty businesslike thumb, I suppose. There it is. Very nice, Brian. We are as live as Brent Leo Smith, so please do talk to us. Hashtag Safari Live or questions@wildearth.tv. The hashtag is for Twitter. If you do not know how Twitter functions, this is not a problem. You may use the email. Do not try and phone us. Do not try and send us post. As I've said to you many times before, the South African Postal Service is about as efficient as a very inefficient thing. I'm going to ask Brian to try. No, I'm not. That was a little raptor, everybody, a little goshawk that just flew over the top of us. No doubt on the search, perhaps, for a grey-headed sparrow for his breakfast. Would you like grey-headed sparrow for breakfast, Brian?
I would love one.
Yum, yum. Okay. As Brent said, our plan is to head towards Bivelshoek Dam, where we've had some rather remarkable luck over the last few days with those little Nkuhuma cubs. Maybe we'll be lucky. Brent said he did hear some soft lion calling up around this area about, say, 20 minutes ago or so. So we'll see what that was. Maybe one of the leopards, Shiluva, who's been eating an impala up north, will come across. These birds. Just listen to this. That is the Hardidar ibis, everybody. The Hardidar ibis has a very unpleasant voice, I find. It goes... We're hearing it this side. I'm not sure if you're hearing it your side. Okay, let's move on very slowly, and we'll head towards Buffelshoek Dam, see what we can come up with on the way. You are most welcome. It's good to have you with us, and I hope that you enjoy the next 3 hours in our company, as we are sure to do, Brian. Yes. Now, although the thumb is obviously dressed in a tie because he is a formal thumb, this is in fact our job. So it is my job to drive around this wilderness area to attempt to find beautiful animals and show them to you. This is quite a remarkable thing, that this is what I actually have to do in order to make myself live. When I think of my brother about to head off to Standard Bank of South Africa to work at the foreign money markets desk, or my sister going off to Jones Day Law Firm in the middle of London, I feel profoundly grateful for the fact that I do not have to do either of those things. Instead, here I am in the northeast corner of magnificent South Africa, checking out the lay of the land in the Kruger National Park. Not bad. Shamsun, good question from you. You have observed that only one of these vehicles has got a long lens on it. That's the one that Brent's on today. And you want to know how it is that we decide which vehicle and which camera we get. Well, basically, it's just a swap. So the presenters, if there are 3 of us on the ground, we work 2 drives on and 1 drive off. And so you swap out. So you'll drive Rusty for 2 drives, take your time off and do a walk, and then drive Wendy for 2 drives, and that's how it works. Now when there are 3 of us, at least there are just 2 of us, we swap every 3 drives so that the cameramen don't get sick of us. You see, they get tired of us if they have to work with us all the time, don't you, Brian?
Yes,
very
tired.
Very tired of us, exactly. And so we'll swap every 3 drives, and the cameramen swap every 4 drives or so, and basically that's how it works. It's got nothing really to do with where we're going, but where we go does depend on which camera we have. So if we're going to Cheetah Plains, normally we'll try and take the long lens. That's on Rusty, because it means that we can look out over those plains without having to drive off-road. We can have decent sightings of those cheetah if they go into Mala Mala and that sort of thing. But very soon, Shamsun, we will have 2 of those long-lensed cameras, and then, well, there just won't be too much trouble anymore. The other thing is that the signal varies slightly on the 2 vehicles, so it's always a good idea to swap between them. Now, this is a roundabout where Brent thought he heard those lions going, oh, 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 oh. Probably not quite as rhythmically as that, but somewhere around here. Good morning, Justin. Lovely to hear from you. You say, which vehicle do I prefer driving? I think in terms of driving, well, Rusty's just had less abuse from us. So, although probably the same age as these recalcitrant old bags of Jigger and Wendy, are probably slightly more comfortable to drive, but it really makes so little difference, you know. I think for Brent it makes a difference. One of them is slightly bigger in the cockpit. I'm not sure which one. It makes absolutely no difference to me, because I'm only 3'4". Here are some impala, a large herd of bachelors, accompanied by a herd of, I was going to say spinsters, but of course they aren't. They are all pregnant, the females, and they will shortly be showing quite strongly the little lambs growing within their bellies. Which is always, I think, a good idea just to consider that. The mammal method of reproduction, the fact that there is a small thing growing inside those females, just blows my mind every time I think about it. Also, the inevitability of giving birth. I mean, obviously, I will never understand it because I'm not a lady. But for those of you who have children, I've always thought to myself how you don't really have a choice. Once you are pregnant and you're going to give birth, there is no choice. When that thing comes out, it's time for it to come out. And that must be quite a scary thing the first time round, I imagine. Don't you think, Brian?
Yeah, I do.
Quite relieved I don't have to do it myself. Yes. I don't suppose the impala minds. She doesn't really know. She just gets on with it. Although I imagine there must be some fear when those first contractions start. Now this firebreak area got a nice flush of green grass over the last little while when we had quite, well, I think about 20 millimeters of rain actually in about a month ago. And so there's been a lot of action here. Now let's be quiet for the next 20 seconds and just listen. Yet another very quiet morning. Yeah, just one or two drongos going in the valleys, a few francolins in the distance. I think I can hear a waxbill or two going, sort of indistinct whistling. But otherwise, almost completely silent. Now, Brian, if you wouldn't mind showing us that tree over there, a last flashing green tree, and that there is Peltophorum africanum, the weeping wattle. And what I'd like you to notice is that there are no leaves in browsing height of those impala. So rather like goats leave what we call a browse line, so will the impala, and they can't reach any of those. The only thing that will help them to reach those forage-rich, and they are good leaves to eat, the Peltophorum africanum leaves, the only thing that will help them to get to those leaves, of course, are elephants. And when we see elephants breaking trees, often people say, oh, but they're doing so much damage. Well, yes, they are, but they're also creating habitats and giving food to many of the other creatures in the area. And that bit of tree there, that's a knobthorn that's lying on the ground next to it. It is dead. It is no longer. And it is a habitat for hundreds of other little species. Poor little knobthorn, Brian.
Shame.
Shame. Alas. And you can see the impala grazing towards it because there's shade there, and therefore hello, Aqua. I'm laughing with your greeting, of course. Aloha, you say. Well, are you getting hold of us from Hawaii, perhaps? You say you've just noticed this swathe of dry, sort of leafless trees, and you say, is this the function of the season or a function of the fact that we're in a drought? It's largely the season. We are having a bit of a drought, or we did have a bit of a drought last year, which means that our winter season has been drier than it is normally. But all of those leafless trees are simply a function of the winter. And if you watch in June and July, you see that although that is midwinter, most of the trees still have some leaves on them. And it's only now, as we head towards the spring, that it starts to take on this grey-gold color. So that's completely normal. There were one or two evergreen trees and a few semi-deciduous trees like this Peltophorum tree. It will lose all of its leaves eventually, but the rest will lose their leaves, and then come the end of September, around then, they'll start to get their new leaves. The knobthorns are already starting to flower as we head towards the spring. I want to show you one other thing from here, and then we're going to move on. Brian, if you look down through the gap between these two big trees, you can see the lights there. You see them?
No.
Just keep going there. There you go, you got them there. Go to the right a little.
So you want those lights?
Those lights. Now everybody, can you see the light twinkling through the trees there? That is where Kevin says, it's at the pan basically, that's where Kevin says there's some birds drinking. I'm not sure what the rest of his comment was, I'll get it for you now, but that's where the final control is. Oh, you say based on the lack of sound last night, do I think it's going to be a dead drive tonight? No, this afternoon, this morning, a.m. No, I don't think that means it's going to be a dead drive at all, Kevin. I think it just means that there was nothing within sort of earshot of the microphones around the camera. So normally I don't think there's any correlation at all between what's heard at the damn camera and what we see in the morning. Okay, let's go across to Brent, get an update from him. There is quite a lot of cloud building to the south, so maybe we'll get a bit of drizzle. Brent, I think, is headed further south. Let's find out from him what he thinks of the weather.
This is the area where those lion tracks disappeared into on the sunset safari. So I'm just checking to the south of the block. When I say a block, it refers to a patch of bush between roads, making sure that they didn't sneak out to the south. I think they've gone north, but we want to make doubly sure they haven't crossed. And there is some quite ominous cloud building to the south. Hopefully the drizzle stays away while we're out on the sunrise safari. But if it's a little bit of drizzle, don't worry, we'll stick it out, see what we can find. So I'm just making triply sure no lion tracks here. Now if they're not, we're going to start moving slowly towards where James is, looking for any sign of lions. Brock, welcome on the sunrise safari, Brock. Brock's wondering, how did the Styx Pride get its name? Was it named after the classic rock band? Unfortunately, although it would be very cool, it wasn't. It was named. They were named after the river Styx, the entry into Hades or the underworld. And there used to be a very big pride, and they used to send many animals down the river Styx. I think that's how they got their name, but it was a very long time ago, probably over 15, 20 years ago. When I used to see the Styx Pride, when they used to be further to the south, around the Sand River, there were about 13 adult females. And obviously, with all these lion prides, they go through ups and downs, times of aplenty, times of not so much plenty. Well, we're looking for the Nkuhuma pride, which is obviously the pride of lions we see the most on Djuma. And Greg is wondering, with 8 cubs to feed, are they going to make more kills, or will they try and make multiple kills at the same time? Well, lions always try and make multiple kills at the same time. It doesn't quite work out for them most of the time. But yes, they will be hunting more frequently with 8 cubs to feed, and especially as those cubs get older. When they're about 6 months old, they're going to be eating nearly as much as the adults. So the ladies are going to have to be busy. Okay, so no tracks coming out. So my initial feeling was they've probably gone north or northwest, but we just wanted to make sure that they hadn't crossed out of here. Now, one of the most interesting things in the bush, and it probably steads you well in other life as well, is that old saying, you've got 2 ears, 1 mouth. Now, if you think about it, you don't actually realize how dependent you become on your ears when you live in the bush, for finding animals, for keeping safe on foot. So your ears play an incredibly important part about what you're doing. And as I said, when it was still dark this morning, Xander and I just switched off on quarantine and we listened. Because your ears will often find animals for you long before your eyes can. Your ears get you in the right area, and then your eyes do the end of the job. Your mouth plays very little part. But it is very interesting. I was thinking about it this morning as I was sitting in the dark, listening for lions, about how completely dependent we are on our ears when we're in the bush. Speaking of that, we're coming up to the junction with Central Road. Those lions were definitely in this block last night. But the other thing is, they could have left the cubs and gone out hunting. So it's going to be interesting to see if we do find any tracks. Are they going to be tracks of the lionesses, or is it going to be tracks of the lioness and cubs? It's always really exciting for me in the early morning when we get to see what's been cracking while we've been in bed, who's been where, what's been up to what. And it is one of the more exciting parts about being in the bush constantly and trying to figure out the early morning newspaper crossword puzzle. Now, talking about ears, wherever we get the chance, I'll switch off the engine and freewheel down a hill. Now, there's still lots of little ambient noises from the vehicle, but you've just got that slightly better chance of being able to hear an alarm call or a low contact call of the lions. And I found the Nkuhumas quite a lot in the last little while. And of course, then you get rude arrow-marked babblers. You make sure I can't hear any lion or leopard. Very aptly named birds. The arrow-marked babbler. And you can hear them babbling away in that fallen knobthorn. Here we go. So they're saying we found the Nkuhuma pride quite frequently with low contact calls between the females recently. You can even see the arrows on his chest. Yep, off he goes. You guys finished? Can I go now? You're not going to make a noise? So this low contact call, which is one of my favorite sounds to hear when I'm in the bush. It's just this. And it's the lionesses, if they've been separated during a hunt or separated looking after their cubs, it's how they find each other. A very good morning to Michael. Michael says he watched a documentary about a merged pride on Singita, and they got incredibly large. And saying, do I know the pride? And if I do I know why they got so big? Yes, I do know that pride very well, Michael. I've actually spent much time with them on foot and in the vehicle, but a very long time ago, over 14 years ago or so. So there are multiple Singitas. There's Singita Sabi Sands, and those lions were not in the Sabi Sands. They were in Singita Kruger National Park, which is a 15,500 hectare concession on the eastern side of Kruger. Now, I think in the documentary they called them the Mega Pride. That was not their name. We called them the Mountain Pride. They spent quite a lot of time hunting in the Lubombo Mountains, and the reason they got so big, that eastern sector of the Kruger National Park is got one of the highest lion densities in the world. So you've got the Lubombo Mountains, and running off those Lubombo Mountains, you've got these wide open flat basalt plains made up mostly of thermida grass and the odd marula and the odd knobthorn tree. It is an incredibly high animal density area. So you get masses of wildebeest and zebra and buffalo on those short grass plains. Now, where you've got a lot of prey, you've got a lot of lions or a lot of predators. So the fact that there's so much zebra and impala and wildebeest and buffalo in that area is the reason that pride got so big. The biggest I ever saw that pride at, and it was 43 different lions in that pride. And one of their favorite things to hunt, strange enough, was giraffe. And what they do, they would chase, and there's a lot of giraffe. The biggest herd of giraffe I've seen in that area is 60 odd. What they would do is chase giraffe up to the lower part of the Lubombo Mountains where it got steep, and the giraffe used to battle to run fast up the hill and then fall down, and the pride would jump on them. But they are a fantastic pride. That area of Kruger, Sweni, Satara, Wanetsi, Lubombo, has a lot of really big prides. It's not uncommon to have prides over 20, 30 in that area, just due to the high animal density. But we're going to keep checking for these lions now. It seems like we are listening to birds and looking for lions, but we're not seeing many mammals. But James has found you another mammal.
Hello everybody. We've got these nyala. I'm just sounding a little bit confused because we've got kudu, I think, alarm calling to the south of us, long way to the south. Let's just listen. There. But long way to the south. Now, I'm just going to call Brent quickly. Brent, what's your position? I'm looking for Brent. Brent, do you copy? Brent, there's some alarm calls. Sounds like kudu. I think probably around Twin Dams area, maybe onto Leadwood. So Brent's going to go down there. So let's just enjoy these nyala for a few minutes and we'll just listen to what's going on. So we've got there one bull, obviously, and he's been substantially more successful than his colleague that we found earlier this morning. To the left of him, of course, his girlfriends and his wives. Now, while you look at them, just let me explain exactly what I meant there. What I heard was an alarm call, which is a kudu, that makes a barking sound, but it was very far away, and it's difficult to pinpoint. As Brent was saying, your ears are so important out here, also your nose, but your ears also. And that low-frequency alarm bark that they make travels through the thick bush. They like to live in thick bush because they browse, and so all of the nyala and the bushbuck and the kudu have got this low-frequency alarm bark, and the further away it is, obviously, the more difficult it is to pinpoint. But definitely some shouting kudus way in the south. Yeah, they're still going. You know what? We're going to carry on going. And now Aubrey's got calls at Gowrie Dam, which is just around the corner here. I'm just going to ask Aubrey. Oh, it's hyenas at the dam cam, everybody. I think we should go and have a look. We're about 2 minutes from there. And let me just quickly call that in. Stations, there are hyena at the dam camera, so we're going to head there. That might be what the alarms are. Right, we're only 1 minute from there, so let's go and have a look at the hyenas. I haven't seen a hyena for so long. So we'll ask the Zoomy to stay on it. Please, Mr. Zoomy, whoever you are at the moment, please try and stay on the hyenas. We are only 1 minute away now. Oh, there we go. There's a lion sighting now on Drakensberg. So Brent is on his way there, everybody. Good news is that the Nkuhuma pride seems to have been found. So Brent will go there. I will try and find these hyenas. And the morning has turned out magnificently. Apparently the hyena is running this direction. Let's go around here. And apparently moving in this direction towards us now. So we're kind of back where we started. We've done a loop around here, and apparently the camera can no longer see the hyena, which is a little irksome. The monkeys are still alarming. I think that's why that hyena was running. I think there's something else going on here. Let's keep an eye out. And let's just listen. Just listen and see if you can hear the hyenas. Not the hyenas, the monkeys. There. You hear that? Cow. Cow. They wouldn't alarm call at a hyena like that, everyone. I think there's a leopard around here somewhere. Eyes open. There's some Franklin's alarm calling as well. Might be a lion. The monkeys would alarm call at a lion. We'll check the roads for tracks. These drainage line areas, very good for predators to come through. It's just unlikely monkeys would shout at a hyena because they know hyenas can't climb trees. Much too slow. Well, they just don't have the claws for it. Let's listen again here. There. Oh, and there's also, you know what else I can hear? I can hear the dogs. There are two dogs owned by the general manager, Candace and Mike. Their dogs, I just heard them going, oh, oh. They're not allowed to bark, and they only kind of attempt to bark when they see something, which means it's probably around the corner there. Hold on, everybody. This is a nasty piece of road. We'll go down past towards the Gallagher waterhole, which is not far from where we are now. That's in front of Gallagher camp. So there are two camps at Djuma. Vuyatela is one of them, Gallagher the other. They're all in this little valley here, just in front of the Djuma camera, in front of the Djuma dam. And if you come and stay here, that's where you can stay. Right in the thick of things, there is a vast vulture. There's the hyena. The hyena went running through there. I think it was a hyena. It was, hey. So we can't go off-road after it, I'm afraid. Let's just keep sitting and listening here, and there's a vulture there. That's normal. That doesn't mean anything. The vultures have to spend the night somewhere. If there were 30 of them sitting in that tree, well, then it might be a sign that there was death and mayhem nearby. But the fact that there's one doesn't necessarily indicate that. But where's that hyena going? That's also another good question. The monkeys have now stopped alarming. I'm going to suggest that I think it's a good idea to go around towards quarantine clearings and see. Let's just watch it go. It's a white-backed vulture, everybody. And some blue waxbills that Brian has found. That's wonderful. Look at them. And all the while we're looking for the big predators, these spectacular little things of unbelievable colour hop around and get on with their little lives. Oh, it's so sweet. Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, let's go round. We're going to go back sort of towards quarantine clearings. Right, let's have a look. Aubrey is now just getting mobile from Gallagher. Orbs, I'm coming down towards the Gallagher waterhole now. I did hear Mike and Candace's dogs giving a bit of a bark, so I don't know if quarantine might also be a good idea. So Aubrey's basically coming around from the other side there. Isn't that lovely having that little bird remind us that it's not all about the big and hairies and the things that make monkeys go ha in the night. Keep your eyes open, everybody. Andrew, you ask how long do monkeys alarm call for? It really does depend on what they see and how long they can see it for. So it's difficult to say. The real good question, I think, about monkey alarm calls is at what distance will they stop alarm calling? Now, if there's a leopard or a lion walking right underneath their tree, then they will go ballistic. But as it moves further away, so they will stop calling. And they've got exceptional eyesight, and if they see a leopard, they will call it at probably from about 300 meters. Now that's almost 1,000 feet. Right, let's go around here. Can't see anything here at the moment. Of course, monkeys will see things that you and I will take years to see. They've got an amazing sense of sight. I wonder if something didn't pop out these drainage systems, maybe Mvula. I don't think Karula would have left her kill from yesterday. For those of you who weren't watching yesterday, Karula on a kill in Arathusa with the 2 cubs. I don't think she would have finished and come through here. I'm just going to turn here so that Brian can show you a picture of this unbelievable sun. Can you see how the lights changed, everyone? Look at that. Isn't that lovely? Let's just have another listen while we look at the sun. Monkey's still calling. All right. We're going to sit here with the sunrise for a little bit longer, listening and maybe hoping to find whatever it is has made them angry. In the meantime, Brent Leo Smith has arrived in the Far East, and he has a very special morning treat for you.
Well, we're with the Nkuhuma Pride, and there we go. It looks like only 4 lionesses and 5 cubs. So the single lioness who's got the 3 youngest cubs is not here at the moment, but they have been joined as well by a single Birmingham boy. It looks like the one who's nicknamed the Hoff, after, of course, David Hasselhoff and his magnificent hair. Here he is. He's watching the lionesses as they move off, and we're going to try keep up with them. Morning, Debbie in Vancouver. Debbie is wondering, how big a territory do the Birmingham lions hold? Are their territories fixed, or do they change? Look at that. It's just watching the wheels. Now that's a very lion cub thing to do. As wheels go round and round, they get very, very excited by them. And their heads will sometimes go in circles. Hey, little one. Oh, too precious. Oh, it looks like stalking one of the adults. No, got spotted. No. There you go. Flat to the ground, ready for attack. There's that wonderful low contact call I was talking about earlier. Sorry, Debbie. Back to your question. I got sidetracked by the cuteness of a cub. The Birmingham boys hold a territory of around probably just over 10,000 hectares, which is over 20,000 acres. Now, lion territories do change from time to time, but they're generally reasonably well set, with a little bit of overlap in all sorts of directions. So that pride's keeping on going, so we're going to do the same. Now, some of the lionesses look like they've fed quite nicely recently, while others look a little bit hungrier. So what that leads me to believe is that they've caught something smallish. Ooh, there are lots of lion landmines around. I can smell them, and it's probably one of the worst things in the world if you drive over a lion landmine. You are stuck with that smell for the rest of the day. There we go. We've caught up with the lionesses and the cubs as they move through the bush. I'm just going to get us into a position where we can see nicely, because the cubs are going to be quite playful in this early morning. There you go. Lots of running about. Oh, look at that. That's spectacular. Now, all this playing is going to be a practice and honing those hunting instincts. Boom, tackle. And welcome to Yasmin Inn, the city that never sleeps, Las Vegas. Yasmin says, I told them what the Styx pride means. What does the Nkuhuma pride mean? Well, Nkuhuma is the Shangaan name for a brown ivory tree. And I think, I'm not 100% sure how long the Nkuhuma is. What's that on that one's back? Doesn't look, it looks like it's got something sticky, probably smelly on its back, the one on the ground. What is that? Oh, sorry, again, I get sidetracked by the cuteness of cubs. And I'm going to try to keep up with them. So the Nkuhuma is named after one of my favorite trees, the brown ivory tree. And the first time they were found by the Juma guides, I think probably over 10 years ago, I'm not 100% sure on that. They were, landmines, I can smell them. Have I already made the faux pas of hitting a landmine? But, so Jasmine, it was after the tree they were first seen under. Oh, there's lots of playing going on down there with the adults. They're just too sweet. So, sorry about that, Jasmine. I keep getting... Oof. Look at that! Tasha Michelle is wondering, are the dads playing with the cubs yet? Possibly. I haven't seen any good interaction between the males and the little onesie just yet, but I'm sure it will come. The males will be quite tolerant of cubs on a kill, but not nearly as tolerant as the females when it comes to sort of playing. Now, they are going to go through a little river system that Eggsy and I know quite well. We got stuck in it 3 days ago following them. Oh, there's still a cub right next to us. He's hiding on the termite mound. Oh, there you go. There he is. Left behind, nearly. We're going to keep up with them, but I'm going to need to do some quite serious concentration to get through this little drainage line ahead. So what we're going to do is we're going to see if James has had any luck to finding what the monkeys are shouting at, and we'll have you back in a few ticks.
Hi again, everybody. I saw Aubrey around the corner there with the water hole. He reckoned those monkeys were probably going at the hyena. I'm not convinced, simply because the dogs also had a go. Anyway, we've come around here. We haven't spotted anything else, so we'll go up. Whatever it was could have come up through here. Just keep an eye on the dam cam. It could easily go down and have a drink there, but the monkeys have stopped calling now. The dogs are not reacting at all, so I don't really know. Anyway, we've got one massive predator sighting going, so that's okay. And we'll go and see what else we can find now. We'll head towards the north. And then, Brian, when you were all the way to the north, you have only one option, don't you?
Yes.
Yes, what is that?
Go south.
Exactly. Ellen Fowler, thank you for that. I did not hear this. Apparently the Anderson male was with Karula and her cubs yesterday. That is absolutely fascinating stuff. It might well be worth us heading that way and just seeing if we can't get a look in at the Karula sighting. So what we'll do is we'll head to the north and then head west. Ellen, thank you very much for that update. We did not hear that. Now that would be very interesting because, of course, we don't think the Anderson male is the father of those two cubs, but she could be. He could be. And Sandra, you're wondering about black leopards or melanistic leopards and whether we've seen them here. We haven't. They wouldn't be ideally adapted for this area. I'm pretty sure that the genetics for them do exist in the wild populations here, but it's unlikely that they would exist here because I don't think it would be more successful than the normal coloured leopards that we get here. So further north you go into Central Africa, where there are rainforests, much like the forests of India, for example. Then you are more likely to find melanistic leopards, black leopards. They would occur in a place like that because it's darker and the shadows hide them better than the dappled light that you get in the woodland areas we have here. So no, unlikely that we'd see a black leopard. One never says impossible out here, but it is very unlikely. In South Africa there have been one or two seen, apparently up around Lydenburg, quite interestingly. I'm just going to get hold of Herbert, he's calling me. Go ahead. Ukumene? Okay, ndafika. Confirm. Ingwe kumbe ingala. Ah, okay. Okay, copy. All right, everyone. We've got some elephants just around the corner. We'll go and have a look at them quickly. Herbert managed to find them, and then we'll head over to the Nkuhumas with Brent before we go to the elephants. So we'll see you at the elephants shortly.
So we've managed to get through that little river system. The lions are actually moving slowly towards us. So we're just sitting here and letting them come up to us with those incredible Nkuhuma cubs. And we can hear them. Incredible vocalizations these little guys make. Or we're being stalked. So hopefully you're getting some incredible screenshots. This little lion's all by coming right up to us. Making lots of noise as well. You hear that clickety-click? It's just me taking a few photos. Look at this. This lioness is literally a foot from Zander at the moment. No sudden movement, Zander. Is your heart beating a bit fast? We are so lucky to have lions like the Nkuhumas who we spend so much time with. They literally have almost zero reaction to us while we're around them. Now, I wonder if that Birmingham boy is still sleeping up there, or did he decide to follow the pride? We can't see him at the moment. Now, this little guy is keeping a very firm eye on Zander. Now they've settled, and it's incredible. So we've got those over there. And there we go. Looks like the next lioness might come towards us. But that lioness that passed a foot from Zander has decided to sleep on the other side of us. So we're literally surrounded by lions at the moment. And where else would we rather be than surrounded by the Nkuhumas and their precious cubs? And old Nick is wondering, when are the cubs sort of out of danger from hyenas? Probably have to get over a year old to be fully safe. Oh, yes. Here they come. I'm keeping quiet so you can listen to the noises they make. Oh, there's the big lioness. So she's no more than about 2 feet from Zander at the moment. So when big cats are this close, we've got to keep our movements quite static. Oh, there's the cub who had that funny thing on it. Actually, it looks like he's been defecated on. So we've got 4 cubs and a lioness, all within about 3 feet, 4 feet of us. There we go, we can't move now. We literally have lions lying to both sides of us. We've got the cubs right next to us. So we're in it for the long haul. Now, good morning to Larry in California. And Larry is wondering, at what age will a lion be strong enough to take on a hyena? Now, the cubs have seen the tires, and I love lion cubs because as soon as they see a car tire moving, they're completely fixated on it. Oh, here we go. Here comes another one of the moms. Is she going to go lie right next to Zander? Zander, they seem to like you. Okay, yeah, we're definitely not moving anytime soon. We've got 2 lionesses to the right of us with 4 cubs. A 5th cub I did see around somewhere. Oh, here, hello. this. They're coming right up to us now. And X-Ranger, you are spot on. No need for super zoom when the lions are a mere 2 feet from you. But, well, we're going to keep sitting here, not that we have any choices about where we sit, because the lions are so close to us. Let's go to James, who's got another member of Africa's Big Five.
Elephants, everybody, as Herbert found them. They're just feeding along. Remember I said to you earlier that the impala were feeding along the firebreak area? Well, that's what these elephants are doing. This is a cow of about, I'd say, about 22 or 3 years old. And what she's doing is devouring a balanites or torchwood tree. But she's only about, what, Brian, 10 meters from us, if that? Not even 10 meters. That's about 30 feet. And she's very, very comfortable there. She turned to face us as we arrived, and now she seems to be completely comfortable with our presence, which is just great. Isn't that nice? Wonderful that we have the lions again. I have tried to get hold of Arethusa, just in case you're wondering about Karula and the Anderson male, because of course one would expect there to be some kind of danger for those cubs if a strange male was to be around. But I've heard nothing, I'm afraid. So let's just enjoy the peace, amazing dawn peace of these elephants. Look at her climbing over this tree. Do you want to go back a bit forward a bit, Brian? We're okay. Now, I've always found it quite interesting, and I find it even more interesting the more I study these animals, how the cows, if they do pay you attention, it's almost certainly to say to you, you're close enough, go away from me, I don't want you to come any closer. They do not, or hardly ever, show any kind of the same curiosity that the bulls do. And just before I carry on with that, just appreciate the thorns that cow is putting into her mouth and just chewing. Those thorns would go through the tires that are on this car, and yet she's just kind of chewing them. Oh, that is just wonderful. Now there are a whole lot of them feeding along here. Let's just go up and around the corner quickly. And as I was saying, the cows make no kind of, they make no attempt at curiosity where the bulls really do. Speaking of curiosity, those cubs are up and playing. Let's go and have a look.
Well, there is a little lion cub proving to be very curious and chewing upon a baboon's tail. Attacking it is probably a better description. Now, it's so enthralled with that baboon's tail that the rest of the pride have nearly left it behind. Oh, heads up. Where'd all the girls go? Oh, there they are. There's 2 cubs. Oh, scamper, scamper. Okay, we're going to move around. Hi, Arita Spox. Arita's wondering, have we ever seen lion cubs get left behind by accident? Never really on accident. When they're left behind, they're normally left behind on purpose because the females are going to be concentrating on hunting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to utilize the road to get up ahead of them. We're going to stop and let them walk up to us again like that. Wasn't that incredible? Xander, is that the closest you've been to a lion? Yes, there we go. Awesome. Just seeing where they're moving. I think this will be our entry point. I think they're going to walk straight through here. I can see them up ahead. Here they come. Sorry, I'm just trying to get us into a good spot. Give ourselves some options. Here they come. Walking straight towards us again. It looks like we have chosen a great spot to wait. And you're going to see now, I'm going to be almost able to touch her as she goes past. Isn't this amazing? Xander, don't move. Just keep still. So you just, if you look next to you, she's smelling our tire. I think I must have driven over a landmine, and that's what she's smelling. So her head is actually almost on the tire. You can move very slowly if you move the camera around, but don't move your body. So she's smelling our tire. And you'll see now, there she is. So I just you can move the camera, just keep your body very still when she's that close. I think I must have driven over some lion dung, and that's what she was sniffing. But she was very, very close. How's that heart rate, Xander? Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, and she's still looking at our tires quite. Hello, big girl. So, Xander's just moving very slowly. There we go. She's moved off a bit. So when the animals are that close, you don't want to move too quickly. It could give them a fright. So it's very important to not react or overreact is probably a better description. We're going to have to move again. When stuff like that happens, it is very, very cool. But of course, we want to keep these lions as relaxed as they are around our vehicles. So a bit of a quick movement, more than likely, will just give her a fright. And so it's a negative reaction. So that's why I was just telling Xander, just keep very, very still. And you can see she moved on. She smelt what she needed to smell. And then off she went. So they're going through this terrible monkey orange thicket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head back to the road and then zoot around again to ahead of them, like we've just done. Oh, quickly, the lionesses are playing. Oh, there they go. Okay, they're going to disappear into that monkey orange thicket. We're going to go see what Commander Bond's up to while we get ahead of the lions again.
Hi everybody. We left the elephants because they went into some thick bushes, and I just found some tracks of something, and I believe these tracks to be the tracks of Mvula, the male leopard. Let's drive down the road. So there were some footprints here indicating that somebody may have looked at them before. I think Herbert might have looked at these tracks yesterday, actually. They don't look very fresh. Yeah. Okay, we're just going to carry on. We might be lucky if we'll spot him. Marvellous that you have those lions. I've got to tell you, those lion cubs are becoming increasingly, obviously, curious about the vehicles, and so their mothers and aunts will do the same. I don't know. I can never quite get used to having a lion look up from 3 feet away into my eyes. It's an amazing feeling. It's a good thing not to get used to. It's continuously astounding. You get a real appreciation for their size then. Hello, Canada Keith. You've asked about my emotions. Well, Canada Keith, of course, it's not always easy to share one's emotions. Canada Keith, you say, was there a sighting that I've had that has affected me emotionally perhaps more than met the eye at first? I think there are lots, Canada Keith, lots and lots of them. But it's funny, for different reasons. So, sightings that remind me of my childhood always just give me a little bit of a sting that sometimes make me eyes water a little bit. But those can be particularly average for people who don't have the same memories. It can be a tree, it can be a smell. It can be an animal sitting in a position that I remember seeing when I was a kid or something like that. Then you get these sightings that do touch you, and it's normally, for me, elephant sightings, where there is some kind of communication, where an elephant, for some reason, seems to pick up on the emotional state of the people that are watching them, especially if you are, I don't know if it's for everyone or if it's just for certain people, I'm not sure. But certainly for me, if an elephant sighting is normally going to pull out whatever underlying emotions there are, they're going to pull out. There go the dogs and the kids to school. That's Candace and Mike driving out of here. We won't follow the road they've followed. We're going to go down towards the west. So, Canada Keith, I can imagine, I mean, when we do these shows, of course, our emotional state we have to keep in check to a certain extent, because we can't hang out our dirty laundry. You might, for example, have a fight with your family, you might have a fight with your girlfriend or something like that, and then you come on drive, and that's got to go away. You can't bring that out. You can't take that with you on drive and explain it to all the viewers, because, well, frankly, they don't care. And look at this amazing hornbill sighting. Just sitting so close by on that stump. So, Canada Keith, when you go on drive in a state like that, when you're not feeling perhaps the top of your game, it is incredible to me how often the elephants pick that up. And I have had experiences where you'll be watching elephants and you'll be feeling sad or emotional about something, and the elephants I don't know how they do it, but they seem to pick up on it and they pull it out of you. And then you get a kind of you're either getting a welling of sadness or you'll get a welling of, I've often had wellings of tears that I've managed to sort of keep under control most of the time. Elephants definitely do that to you. So I can't think of anything specific, but I can think of a number of times where elephants have definitely done that to me. There's another yellow-billed hornbill. They don't tend to pull out too much tears in me. You, Brian?
No.
Have you ever cried for a hornbill?
No.
I don't think I have. Alrighty, on we go. I still can't get any comms from Arethusa. And as Rebecca says to me now into my ear, she says, sadness is not the only emotion. You can always be happy. She's right, of course. I think the reason I mention the sadness is that they don't The happiness is kind of, I think it's much more common out here than the sadness. And so when you spend time around those lion cubs like we did yesterday, or the elephants, again the elephants, or the leopards, or any of the animals, and the incredible scenery here, you know, happiness is kind of a default position, which is rather a good thing to say about where you have to work. Thank you, Rebecca, Dr. Phil Christensen. There is an impala. Let us stop and view these impala. Dr. Phil apparently has a question about them. And there we are. Hello, Rachel, all the way from Israel. It's very, very nice to hear from you from Israel. I hope it's a pleasant day there. I imagine it's probably quite hot, given that you're in the middle of the summer there. Well, I suppose you're heading towards the end of it now. You say, will the impala rams' bodies change during the course of the second rut? Now, Rachel, I know you know what that means, but for some, perhaps, it's a little bit unclear. During September and August, there is a second rut for the impala, which means that the females who were not mated in May will often come into estrus, and that creates a kind of second rutting behavior in the males, and they have a bit of a fight with each other. And you want to know, Rachel, does it bring about the secondary sexual characteristics and the neck thickening, the testicles dropping, and that sort of thing? Rachel, it does, but probably to a much smaller extent than it does in May. Testosterone, which is the hormone that causes male secondary sexual characteristics, for example, in human beings, hairy armpits, hairy chests, and in my case, a hairy back, what it does for all of the animals out here is create whatever, you know, secondary sexual characteristics they have. So the males will get a neck thickening, they'll become more aggressive, their testicles will drop slightly. So while not quite the same as the May version, it will certainly happen during this time of the year as well. None of those males, however, they're much too young, are going to have that effect. Let us continue. Hello, Vicky from Chicago. I hope it's not too windy in Chicago today. You say, how long until the impala give birth? Well, the impala will give birth 6.5 months or so after they have mated. And so the impala that were mated in May will give birth at the end of November, sort of beginning to end of November, depending on when in May they were mated. And so these chaps will give birth in February if they are impregnated now. Always hated the term get pregnant. If they are impregnated, if they fall pregnant, I suppose, is the better term. I've never understood how you can get pregnant. Hello, Jeremy. Good question from you. And I think the answer will become clear, well, I hope it will, as I describe what I'm going to. You say, how is it that despite the fact that everything likes to eat impala, from jackals to baboons to snakes to cheetahs to lions to leopards to wild dogs to hyenas and everything else in between, why is it that they still manage to be so numerous? The answer, Jeremy, lies in the fact that you are only watching a safari in an area like this. They're not as common as this in East Africa, for example, where the wildebeest far outnumber the impala. And therein lies the rub, as it were. Here, there is water. There is always water in the Sabi Sand and in the Kruger Park. People have pumped water in this area for years and years. That is the impala's limiting factor, or limiting nutrient. They must have water. They cannot migrate to water. So as long as you have water in an area, their strategy of mixed feeding, where they can browse and graze, unlike most other animals, they can do it just as successfully either. Some will do bits and pieces of both, but none of them can do it with the same success as an impala can. So that's one of the elements, and then the other element is this incredible timing of the births. Most of the other herbivores, of course, are seasonal breeders, but the impala are so specifically timed that they flood the market with little ones. And 50% of them won't make it through their first year, but those other 50% will make it probably on to breeding. So it's a very successful strategy. But the main thing, there's a big elephant as opposed to a small elephant, Brian. The main thing, Jeremy, is that they do not move to water. And if you provide water for them, they will outcompete everything else. Good question. Thank you very much for that. A beautiful question here from some fellow called Fuzzman Sparkles. Brian, it's a contender for the best Twitter handle, perhaps. Fuzzman Sparkles. Fuzzman Sparkles, you want to know what the second most common antelope in this area is? Well, good question. I think probably Nyala. I would say they're probably the second most common antelope by number. That said, I would say the most widely distributed antelope in this area, so the one that you'll find just about absolutely everywhere, duiker and steenbok. You find them, slightly different habitats. Any open area you're going to find a steenbok. Any slightly closed bit of woodland you're going to find a pair of duiker. So they are very widely distributed. I'd say by number, though, there are quite a few nyala around here. Kudu not too bad either. Far fewer wildebeest, far fewer waterbuck. Now, these chaps are eating the Combretum calinum. And Rebecca wants to know what kind of emotion I'm feeling now. Now, of course, as with many men, as soon as women start asking you how you feel, Brian, what emotion do you feel? You start to get irritated, don't you? You start to feel, you say, nothing. I'm fine.
Nothing.
I'm fine, Rebecca.
I'm also fine.
I'll try and give you a sense of what I am feeling, though, because I'm so open with my emotions, aren't I, Brian?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. And pay no attention to him. These elephants are, I don't feel, having too much of a word with us. I don't think they're paying us too much attention, so I'm not getting too much of a vibe from them, to be honest. I think they're just two young bulls concentrating on their meal. So I suppose I do feel the sensation of hunger watching them eat, but I'm not feeling any great emotion at this stage. I was told when I first started this show that I possibly needed to cry online while I was live in order to show that I am not a complete wall without emotion. I haven't succeeded at that yet. Maybe Brian will hit me very hard before we go live next time and I shall be in tears. He looks a little insulted now that I've said he isn't making me feel emotions. So two young bulls just making their way in the world. There is no adult bull around them, or no big bull. These chaps are probably between 18 and 16 years. All right, we're going to carry on now. We're quite close to the Arathusa boundary. Let's head across there, find out what's going on with Karula. I will keep you posted, but in the meantime, Brent Leo Smith is with the cubbies.
So they've led us to an uncrossable drainage line for us, so Andrew's rushing around. Xander, don't get a fight, but there's another lion behind you about to pop up, but just keep looking at the cubs. Look at them, they're just the best when they're playing. So I did quite a bit of smelling around this area. This is actually one of the other female who's got the three little cubs. Watch. You can hear him coming. It's just spectacular. Now the male is somewhere behind us, apparently still following as well. Look at us playing with the cubs. So being a lion, the 4x4 is a bit better than ours even. So we'll stay with them while we can from here, but I'm going to have to find somewhere to get across this river system. Well, hopefully they lie down for a bit there. Oh, bless you. Now, Lauren's wondering, do the female cubs stay with the pride? Indeed they do, Lauren. The male cubs will disperse at about 3 years old, but the female cubs will stay with the pride. Oh, look at that. It's posing. Are we going to attack sibling? Or are we just going to walk past? We're going to walk past. Maybe attack other sibling. Sibling or cousin? Just too cute. I'm just trying to listen to see where the male is. Now, James Richard is asking a very interesting question, and I'm not going to delve too deep into it. And he says, do I find it difficult to watch documentaries, especially about lion prides or leopards that I know personally well, and the information might not be what I know is true or what is perceived to be true. Generally, James, you'll find it's very difficult for all of us to watch wildlife documentaries, whether we know the animals or not, just because of spending so much time out there. And well, they do need to build a story, and that's the wonderful thing about being live. And it is what it is. You can't make anything up. What you see is what you see. Okay, I'm going to move quickly to see if I can try to get into a better position for these little guys. And I'm just checking over my shoulder. I know the male is coming, but he's probably moving quite slowly. Let's see if we can sneak out of here. So we're just going to have a quick look up behind us to see if that Birmingham boy is coming through. Oh, there he is. He snuck up on us. Let me just get into a better spot. I thought I heard footsteps behind me, Zander. Yeah, you didn't even hear a big male lion sneak up behind you. Okay. Let's have a look. There we go. There we go. So, there he is. We were sitting just down there and I thought I heard footsteps behind us. And he did manage to sneak up. But I'm going to try to get us into a position where we can see the cubs. I can actually hear them playing from here. So while we do that, let's go check in with the highly entertaining Commander Bond.
Ding 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 ding. Did it 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 did it. Sorry about that, everybody. Yeah, I've wanted to do that for so long, and now I have. Now I feel the emotion of happiness coursing through my being. Ah, lovely. There are some buffalo, and there's not much else to say about them because they are in some very, very thick bush. But I'm stopped here because we're on the boundary with Arathusa, and I did get an update from a chap from Elephant Plains. He drove past, and he stopped very kindly to give me an update on Karula and cubs. They have gone south into Hofmann's, which means we can't follow them because that is the reserve to the south of us. Also tracks of Tingana around here. Anderson Male didn't join them. I did ask him specifically. So he said there were some reports of Anderson Males, they think his tracks around here, but there could have been Tingana's tracks, they're not really sure. So the Anderson Male didn't join those two cubs, well, according to him, and he has been around at the kill. So that's quite interesting. I think it's, yeah, I'm not sure what happened there, but it's very nice to see an executive Mercedes-Benz driving past. Obviously a landowner going out. It's always so incongruous. I lost my train of thought. So, I mean, it would be unlikely, I think, because we don't know if Karula mated with the Anderson Male during her estrus. It's possible, it's highly possible, but we did see her mating so often with Tingana that it's much more likely that she would avoid being around Anderson and stick around in Tingana's territory. Okay, let's move on. These buffalo are not coming out. I thought they might come out of these strychnos thickets, but they're not going to. So let's carry on and see what else we can see. I'm very pleased that those lions seem to be moving further into Vuyatela, so that's a good thing. Let's go and find out what they're doing now.
So we've managed to get into a good spot to view the wonderful little Nkuhuma cubs. So just behind this little cub here, the other cubs are feeding. Now, of course, being out in the African bush, it can be quite tough on the animals. And Brian is wondering how many of these cubs will actually survive. Well, normally, they have about a 70% mortality rate. But I think it might be okay. So, I mean, there are 8 cubs, so under normal circumstances, maybe 3, 4 might survive. But at the moment, with the drought and it being a time of plenty for predators, there's also not many hyenas in this area where the cubs are at the moment, and also the fact that there's a nice big stable male lion coalition in the Birmingham boys. They probably have a slightly better chance. What you call aggressive feeding. Oh. I thought I heard another contact call. Could be the 5th female. Difficult to hear of all the noise the cubs are making. can see a slight snarl forming on Mom's lips. She might be getting tired of all the fighting. She is a beautiful female. The Nkuhumas are like the Hollywood movie stars out here, and I suppose the sticks are what we'd probably call the daytime soap opera lions. It's amazing how deep those little cub grounds are already. We're going to try and move a little bit further forward. How's that, Sander?
Yep.
You can see how their ears are flat, and there'll be quite fierce competition over milk. Now, in the background, from where that lioness is, there's the other mother with 2 cubs there, giving them a bit of a groom. Oh, there we go. Those face nuzzles and touches like that are very important. Oh, cubs, that's mine, my mom. With a lion pride, it affirms the social bonds between them. So it's warmed up quite a bit, the sun's coming out. And it looks like those ones have moved into the shade already. It's not going to be too long. Here we go, you can see another lioness has got up, moving towards the shade. Where's that Birmingham? Birmingham boy is still sitting behind us. Can't really see him from here. There we go, some allo grooming between the 2 adult lionesses. Now, Shamsung is wondering, are these lioness hungry? Do I think they might be looking to make a kill today? Well, lions are always looking to make a kill. They are opportunists. And some of them have eaten more than others, which makes me think they killed something small like a kudu or a waterbuck. So they definitely would hunt. I think unless they happen to stumble across something in the next half an hour or so, it's unlikely that they're going to hunt during the day unless something stumbles into them. I think they're going to find some nice shade to rest, and then maybe on the sunset safari they'll be out on the hunt. Okay, so we are stuck on the wrong side of the river, so to speak, at the moment. As Zander zooms out, you'll see there's quite a steep bank we're not going to be able to cross, and it's going to take me some serious maneuvering to get out. But before we do that, let's go have a look at the Birmingham boy. See. is. Oh, it's just that bush in the way. Let me try to go forward a little bit. There we go. He's a tired kitty. Now, the Birmingham boys, we now know have 3 prides. They could have more. They have the Nkuhumas, the sticks, and the torchwood pride that comes in from the Kruger National Park. And he's looking quite well fed. Hi, Marianne. Marianne's in Texas. Marianne's wondering what would explain the difference between the Nkuhuma and sticks pride, health, parenting practice, etc. Well, I'd say from a parenting practice, I'd say their strategies are pretty similar. From the health thing, I think the sticks are just unlucky enough to have been in an area where there's mange. And I think they might have even picked it up from the Birmingham boys. Not this one, but one of the others. Who spent a lot of time with those sticks cubs when they were younger. So it's possibly the fact that the Birminghams have spent more time with the sticks prides and passed on that mange to the females and onto their cubs that could be the difference in the health. Oh, he's a tired kitty. Well, we're going to try to catch up with the cubs again. Oh, are you going to move? Going to join them? He's thinking about it. But that would require effort. What's going to win? Head on paw? I think it might. Sleeping. That head's getting heavier and heavier. And as his head descends to his paw, we're going to try to cross this little river system. Let's go see what James is up to.
I have just discovered, everybody, 2 fish eagles. But now we're rolling back over this hill. Are we okay there, Brian? Don't lean backwards, we're going to fall back. There's a fish eagle. There is another fish eagle just below it. That's a juvenile. You can see that because it's a bit scruffy. Its white feathers haven't quite fully reached maturity. And there's another one there. And they're sitting here at the Arathusa waterhole. That's where we are now. And we're going to see what else is there. Waterhole is a very kind term to describe what this is now. It is now a giant mud wallow with the carcasses of many catfish, and that is why these fish eagles are sitting here looking so very plump and happy in the late dry season. Let's go and take a closer look. Oh, there's another one there. Another 2 there. 4 fish eagles. Now, they're not normally the bravest of birds, so they might fly. We'll just try and see if we can get a little bit closer. I don't mean that as an aspersion on their characters, but you see, they don't like to be around us much. They feel the emotion of fear when they're around us, everyone. There's this one. You see this one, Brian? That one there. Can you see it now? Brilliant. This one is quite close to us. So I'm just going to... You hear that? Oh, that's so cool! Everybody loves the sound of a fish eagle. Isn't that lovely? I think that's just fantastic. Come on, do it again. Is him throwing his head back? That is so fantastic. It is a wonderful call. I mean, it's a bit cliched, the sound of the fish eagle, because it's everyone's kind of favorite call. But you can see why. It is magnificent, and to hear that echoing over a waterhole in the middle of the summer is, oh, it's wonderful. And he'll just be watching the waterhole to see what's there. They do scavenge quite a lot, you know. Yeah, Brian, there's another one flying. Well spotted. Just tossed the other one out of the tree. This is so cool. I'm very glad we weren't on the first one we were looking at, everyone, because he's just relieved his bowels. That's so cool. Now, come on, call again. Come on. Do it. I want to get a picture of him with his head throwing back like that in gay abandon as he sings to the wilderness. Not so much. That's really wonderful to see, everybody. It's not common that we would see them calling like that and hear them calling. Let's go a little bit closer to the waterhole, see what we can find that side. There was some impala down there. We'll just see if that thing flies. I'll turn off the car immediately and Brian will be able to follow it. We'll just ease our way around, because to see them fly is just wonderful. Get him backlit. He's a very brave fellow, that one. All the others have absconded. There's one more down by the water here, I think. Oh, and you can smell the mud now, you know. You can smell it's kind of a bit fetid. And there's some bush. Oh, there's a hippo down there. Can you believe it? That just tells you how little water there is anywhere else, if there's a hippopotamus in here. You can hear them calling again. Hello, miss. You're wondering about what happens during the rainy season when the dams get full, or if they get full. I will go up onto the dam wall here, miss, and I'll show you. They get very full. You will not believe the difference in the landscape. Basically, if we stop here, the water line will go up, basically up to as high as we are here. Sometimes that's a bushbuck leaping out of the dam. But you can see there where the water line is. It's above that bushbuck. So, I mean, tons and tons and tons of water. Kilotons of water that flow into these areas and sit. And I don't think that this dam will have been dry for many, many years. This will be a very strange occurrence. Amazing. I love watching them move like that. If they leap over something or up onto something, their agility is incredible. There's still fish eagles yelling all around us. Just contemplating whether to be brave enough and go back into the water, or to just sort of go down into the drainage line below to avoid us. So a bushbuck, everyone, is not very common around here. Bushbuck, nyala and kudu, the three spiral-horned or tragular-leafed antelope that we get here, and the bushbuck being the least common of them. and easily identifiable. Sometimes they can be a little confusing, but that one's easily identifiable by the fact that it has no stripes. So sometimes you can confuse a bushbuck ewe perhaps with a young nyala ewe, but there are no stripes, just the spots. A Bambi-like sort of look, and also that sort of band of white underneath the neck. Very obvious. Alright, let's go up onto the top here and have a look at the hippo. Now, this might be slightly disturbing to some of you. This hippo is alive, make no mistake, but this is the most suboptimal kind of hippopotamus territory. You can see where he's walked in. If you follow behind him, you can see where he's come from. And how on earth this thing is surviving, I don't know. I'm just listening on the radio now. They were talking about a dead hippo somewhere, I think on Simbambili. So the hippo are really going to struggle, and I know during the course of the summer Kruger Park was talking about starting to cull some of the hippopotamus because they're starting to die along the fringes of the rivers, especially the young bulls. Brian, we didn't notice, but there are 4 oxpeckers looking at us from very, very close by here. Look at these 4 oxpeckers. Oh, why did you fly away? They were sitting so close. I was going to get a picture. And Anna Marie, you want to know if these hippos would ever go to the Sand River in a bad drought? Absolutely. I think most of them have gone to the Sand River. Sand River is not flowing at the moment, though. So there'll be pools, but they certainly are not flowing with any great enthusiasm. So not really any real point going to the Sand River. Sabi River, a bit more water, but remember, hippos are highly territorial, which means that they will not tolerate each other in great numbers. So if a whole lot of them are around and the water is concentrating, eventually the young bulls and the less dominant animals are going to be excluded from the water, and they will die, unfortunately, and that's just the way it goes. I personally don't believe that culling them is an answer. I think it's a natural part of the system, and unfortunately, while it's very difficult to watch, I think they should be given the benefit of the doubt and perhaps be allowed to try and survive through the drought without our intervention. You might also just be able to hear a bit more bird song now. We can hear a woodland, a brown-hooded kingfisher going, pity for you, maybe singing to the hippopotamus. Hello, Lulu Fire. You're wondering about pumping water into this dam. I don't know specifically because we're at Arathusa, so I'm not sure how much water could be pumped into this dam from boreholes. Borehole water into a dam this size would almost certainly denude whatever little water there was left in the aquifers that are used for the lodges and used for various other small pans that are pumped. No, a huge dam like this is not actually natural. So to pump it full of water would extract water from other parts of the ecosystem. And remember, while a hippopotamus is an obvious part of the ecosystem that is obviously struggling, remember that there are thousands and thousands of other species here that aren't so obvious, that are depending on the water that would eventually be taken away from them were we to pump an area like this from an underground aquifer or borehole. So although the little, I don't know, fungi and microbes and bits of tree and that sort of thing. That's a good point here, Mark. Well, all of those little things also have just as much a right to life, of course, as this hippopotamus does. Mark, you saying that this hippo is not flicking his ears or opening or moving his eyes. Is he actually still alive? I'm looking with my binoculars. I think he's breathing. Is he, Brian? Yes, he is. I've just seen him move. He's definitely breathing.
Yeah.
His eyes have just kind of opened as if to say, leave me be. I'm just about alive. It must have been a hell of an effort for him to get in there. Alright, Brent has managed to make it through his particular section of the windy, impenetrable forest. He's back with the lion cubs. Let's go and take a look.
So it is now quiet time. All the excitement of the morning is over. Everyone running and jumping on each other has tired the poor little tykes out. And now they are fast asleep. Now I'm wondering if that male is going to come join them. He's lying about 60 meters away. And you can see there's lots of heavy heads and droopy eyes at the moment. They've got nice little shady quarry thicket. Hi, Ellen in Arkansas saying, do I ever get an uneasy feeling sitting next to a lion or any other predator that hasn't eaten in a while? Well, not really, Ellen. Fortunately, I've spent a lot of time with these animals, so I generally know how to read their behavior pretty well, and I've never really had that uneasy moment with a hungry creature. So there are the other cubs sleeping behind. You can hear a golden or black-headed oriole actually. Trying to get comfortable. Just keep checking behind us in case that male starts wandering in. Because the one lioness is, there we go, her eyes are up. Somebody, can you see behind us? Is that male coming?
I checked earlier, I can't see him.
No, we can't see it. Or maybe she's seen something else. Shamsung's wondering, is it possible if a new coalition of lions came in, would it take over all prides or only one pride? It is possible that they would take over one pride. It all depends on the size of the coalition and whether they already hold territory sort of bordering the single pride's territory. So I'm just, sorry about the movie, I'm just trying to figure out what she's looking at. So the male is a little bit further to the left of where she's looking. Oh, maybe there's a unwitting Nyala. No. No, I'm going to go to sleep. And I think this is where the Nkuhumas are going to be for the majority of the day. Sarah in Georgia is wondering, is the Southern Pride anywhere near Djuma or Arathusa? Unfortunately not. It's possibly the Pride of Lions lives the furthest away from us here. We're way up in the north of the Sabi Sands, and the Southern Pride is way down south. So unfortunately, no Southern Pride up here. The prides of lions that we see in the north, well, the ones we see the most of course, are the Nkuhumas, who are snoozing next to us. The Sticks is another pride we see more regularly, but more normally further down to the east. And in Buffelshoek, you get the Talamati pride coming in from Manuleti, Kruger. Torchwood, you get the Torchwood pride coming in from Kruger. And then right on the sort of southern boundary, Cheetah Plains, that area in Marmana, I think it's called the Four Ways Pride, occasionally come up that far north. And then if we head off to the west, occasionally Tsalalas and Mungen prides come into Arathusa and Shirley, Sibambili, that area. Male lion coalitions, of course the Birmingham boys, who are around a lot with us. And then it's possible the Four Ways males might come. I think the boundary between them and the Birminghams is just south of Cheetah Plains. And then of course the Majinga lions in the west. The Matimbas are now down in the south. They don't really come up this way anymore. And then the Salati males that come in from the north. Although I think the Birminghams have put a dent in the Salati's lion prides. And we can hear all the birds around us. We're right next to a little dry riverbed. We've got that, and then those are crested barbets. You can hear the oriole and that beautiful sort of liquid chortle. Some arrow-marked babblers babbling away. One of the larger woodpecker species. Pecking. Oh, we have a head up. Not for very long, I feel. So Basil is wondering, how do you age a lioness? Basil, it can be quite difficult. Station Yellow Road North, just to your west, and then the male lions to your east. Sorry about that, I had to call someone and he was about to drive past us, didn't see us hiding in the bushes. So, sorry about that, Basil, who's a brand new viewer, so welcome to Safari Live, Basil. Basil, it's quite difficult to age a lioness. As far as I know, the Nkuhuma lionesses, they're currently probably 6 to 10 years old, the adults that is, and they are in fine fettle in their prime. So, unfortunately, we're in the only real spot where we can see the lions nicely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make space here so the other guys can come look, and we'll go look at the Birmingham boy. But it is going to take me a little bit of creative reversing. to get out of here, so bear with us. One last look at the sleepy cub face. And we have been with them all morning, so we've been incredibly spoiled. If you just stand by there, I'll make space for you. While we do that, let's go to James and see how he's faring in the west.
I'm faring, my emotions now, everybody, have changed. I'm now feeling quite amused because the lions were described to me by Rebecca in the final control as muchis. Now, most of you won't know what on earth that means. Much is tired in the language Afrikaans, aka Pidgin Dutch. And muchis, I can only assume, is Rebecca's way of saying a little bit tired. Anyway, so it goes. Now, we're going to stick our noses in here. This is where you'd expect to find some dwarf mongoose. You might also expect to find a black mamba, or a Mozambican spitting cobra, or a snouted cobra, perhaps resting for the winter time. Yeah, sneaky, sneaky, sneaky. No. Thankfully no snakes in there. Now, well, the other thing I wanted to point out to you was that this mound is probably still active and will become again with a little bit of temperature and a little bit of moisture. And you can see here, this is the fresh growth. This was probably built about a month ago, possibly after that last rain that we had. Let me just break a piece off. And I think the snakes will live in these mounds probably very comfortably with the termites. But what's interesting, the mongoose will eat termites, absolutely. So I think what they do is they go in there, and I suspect the termites seal them off. So they probably sacrifice a piece of the mound so that they can live without sort of abuse from the mongoose. And there you can see it's largely, the lattice, there's not much tunnel in it. It's almost completely solid, just with one or two pieces of tunnel there. And that's so that the termites can move to and from the fungus chambers, carrying the food that they eat, and also to maintain the temperature inside. The temperature inside, I think, if I'm not mistaken, roughly 34 degrees Celsius, I think, inside a termite mound. Brian is nodding. He knows, of course, because he used to live in a termite mound with some meerkats at one stage when he was much smaller. Not so, Brian.
Yeah, this is true.
There we go. 34 degrees Celsius, which in Fahrenheit is around about 90, I guess. It must be about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's the temperature at which it maintains. And they have to do that because, of course, they can't do it internally. They cannot do that physiologically. And so to maintain their activity levels, they must maintain the temperature of the mound. And so the mound actually acts almost like a thermoregulating organism, as you and I are. Now, the story behind the road we're going down now, well, it's not a profound story. It's just the reason we're traveling down it. This is Hofmann's to our right-hand side, or to the east of us, and Karula and one of the cubs went in there this morning. They were chased by hyenas. They did see both the cubs, though, so I think one of them probably just went up a tree somewhere inside Arathusa still. So that we might catch he or she going across. We might catch Karula coming to fetch him. I don't know. We'll go and see. And also Tingana was wandering about in this area, up and down this road sometime earlier this morning, perhaps patrolling his territory. So that's why we're over here. We might be lucky to see something like Tingana or one of the two cubbies. It would be very nice, wouldn't it, Brian? Yes. As Brent has had all the cubs today, and we've had some elephants, and we've had some bushbuck and nyala, but no cubs, and a hippopotamus that was very sad. That made me feel quite sad, Brian. It made me feel a certain sense of sad emotion. Anyway, that's the plan. from now. Now, there's the dove. And the dove is not alone, everybody. He's sitting with the red-billed buffalo weaver. I keep forgetting, of course, that one may as well be filming with a fisheye in comparison with the other camera. That's a red-billed buffalo weaver. They do occur in great numbers in this area, and I've noticed in the last few days they're becoming much more active. They'll start to rebuild their nests and do renovations for the coming breeding season, and they're the ones that build those huge stick nests on the northwestern side of dead or dying trees. You hear the dove calling. And you can hear a drongo. Otherwise, again, not a very loud dawn chorus. Very peaceful. Okay, let's carry on. Ooh, this is quite interesting, everyone. Just a light from the vehicle. Over here, we have got hyena dung, which many of you will know about, but it's all over here. Can you see around here, when I'm walking? This is unquestionably a boundary. So they will all come past here when they're on their patrols, the hyena clan members, and they will defecate here, and this will be a boundary between two hyena clans. Now the interesting thing is which two clans, because there, it's a bird. Over there we know that about the Arathusa clan of hyenas. They're in Arathusa. Behind us here, this is too far south for our Djuma clan, which isn't our Djuma clan anymore because they're not on Djuma, but there's probably another clan of hyenas that lives around here, but it could be our Djuma clan because we have seen one or two of our males coming down into this area at various stages. And just have a look here. Can you see this, Brian? It's just fine. Here is the white outer dung, if you like. And as soon as you open it up, you can see it's green. And that's calcium from the bones that the hyenas eat. And as the calcium is exposed to the sun, it gets this white crust, and that white crust is oxidized calcium. That is a small chemistry lesson for the day. It's always good to have your chemistry lesson early, Brian, so that you remember it.
Indeed.
Yes. On we go. I'm not going to pick that up, Brian, because it's disgusting. Right, Brent has managed to move in amongst the trees, and he's found himself a large and hairy male lion.
So he's still lying about 60 meters from the rest of the pride, dozing away. And we're going to leave the lions to doze. There's a couple of other cars that are trying to get in here. So we're going to leave them, but we will catch up with them on the sunset safari. So let's go see what other wonderful creatures are about on Djuma this morning. So what a fantastic lion, multiple lion sightings we had today with the cubs, with the moms playing, jumping up and down, and we're going to go see, I feel like some elephants. What do you feel like, Sander?
Yeah.
I think elephants will be quite nice. And we're pretty sure the Nkuhumas are going to be here on the sunset safari, so exciting prospect. They look like they might hunt this evening, so definitely, I think James or myself will definitely be here in a few hours. Now, Ginny's wondering whether other animals will be affected by the smell of lion dung on the vehicle. They can do, especially buffalo. So they do run, but what I'm going to do is let's have a look, see if I did make the faux pas of driving over a landmine. Let's just get far enough away from the lions. The lion. Okay, we should be far enough. So let me inspect my tire to see if maybe she was smelling possibly buffalo dung rather than lion dung. Let's go have a look. I really hope it wasn't lion dung that I drove over. No, it wasn't lion dung, so it must have been something else we drove over, and I can't see any sign of lion dung on my tires, which is a relief. So I think all the dung we're smelling was just where they had defecated around where we were driving through. I am normally very careful about driving over lion dung. It is a very unpleasant smell to keep with you through the day. Now, I think I might do a little gander past Gallagher Pan where those monkeys were alarm calling. Now, there's two possibilities. It could have been a leopard, or it could have been the 5th Nkuhuma lioness, who's not with the rest of the pride, who's still got those slightly younger cubs, who she introduced to the pride for the first time 2 days ago. But maybe she feels they're not quite ready to spend all their time with their boisterous cousins and aunts just yet. Now, morning Mark. Mark's wondering, would the main predators like lions, I'm supposing leopards and hyenas, hunt in the morning, or do they prefer the evening? Well, one must remember all predators are opportunists. They'll hunt whenever they can. So if something happens to walk into where they are now, they will go for it. But generally, early morning is sort of, they will hunt, definitely, but they do prefer hunting from sunset into the dark hours. So darkness gives them a slight advantage. And they've got incredible night vision, but it's not night vision as such. There still has to be ambient light. So light of the stars, moon, reflection off the clouds. So if it were complete blackness, a lack of light, the lions would be as blind as we are. Now, I think it's definitely worth going to have a squiz around Gallagher Pan, that area again. You never know what might pop out. And also, the elephants seem to have been in that area quite frequently as well. Remember, we are on a live safari, so feel free to ask us questions using the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or send us an email, questions@wildearth.tv. And even if you're pondering about anything that's out in the African bush, trees, flowers, grasses, birds, people, please send through those questions and we'll do our level best to give you an answer. Oh, my door's open. Now I know James was going on about the car he prefers to drive, and that was Justin who asked that, and I'd probably say rusty. The main reason for that is it's a bit bigger in the cockpit, so there's a little bit more space for my long legs. So in Wender and Jigger, especially the smallest, you can actually see my knees come up on the other side of the steering wheel, but at least on rusty they're not quite as bad. And now these vehicles were definitely not made for tall people. They are incredible though, because we are able to maneuver into positions and go through areas that other cars would never be able to. So there is that benefit of them. And also, of course, the Z150, which is the camera that's on Rusty. You've got the super zoom feature, so for birding, it's really wonderful. But shortly, that's not going to make a difference because I think we're going to have those cameras on all the vehicles. And mentioning birds, and I'm sure James wishes he had this vehicle because he's got a bird to show you.
That is a grey-headed bush shrike, everyone. And Brent is absolutely correct. I do wish we had the other vehicle because of it. Nah, we're not going to get it now. Hang on one sec. We might just get one more view. It's just on the... You see that there? It's gone. Alright, this is exactly where Karula crossed over into Hoffman's. That's Hoffman's. It's a Hoffman's grey-headed bush shrike, that. And we also found Tingana's tracks. So I'm peering at all of the termite mounds to see if there isn't a leopard sitting on top of one. But in the meantime, there is a zebra up ahead. And we're just going to bounce our way along this road until we see them nicely. There we are. There, Brian. Both sides of the road, zebra.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. Let no one ever use the joke. Oh, guys, look over there. Zebra crossing. So deeply unfunny. Just behind the termite mound. Now they will focus on termite mounds just about all the time, but mainly in summer, when the grass grows out of the mounds, and it is very delicious grass apparently. Let's go a little bit forward. And we've got quite a few zebra this side. I think I prefer the ones on the left, Brian, don't you? They're all over here. It's quite a nice big kinship group, both sides of the road. We'll just stop to see them there, and to our eyes, of course, in amongst the green, that white and black does look fairly obvious. But as Brian was pointing out the other day, when they get into that grey stuff, that grey wintry vegetation, they do just disappear. A little bit further forward. Actually some beautiful colour here, everyone. We've got the black and white of the zebras, the copper yellow of the leaves, and above them the grey of the sky. Beautiful deep grey sky. And then they're all lit from behind. Well, not from behind them. They're not backlit. They're lit beautifully from the sun coming from behind us. Isn't that nice? Very pretty. I might have to take a picture, Brian. Hold your horses, everyone. That was also a zebra joke. Did you get that, Brian? Yes. Very peacefully eating through here. And then, they're not alone, of course. Just above them, a forked... Oh, no, he's moved, of course. Let's see where he goes. A fork-tailed drongo, just following, seeing what little bits and pieces he can pick up from what they kick up off the ground. It's mainly, I think, the action of their grazing, where they grab a piece of grass and then tear at it, which dislodges the roots and will dislodge, say, invertebrates sitting on the roots. For example, the cicadas we heard last night, they live underground on roots, mainly tree roots, of course. But they live underground on roots during the course of the winter time. I'm sure there are other insects and invertebrates that live on the roots of grasses, and they will get dislodged by animals like zebras and buffalo and all the other grazers. And so you'll always find a little herd of antelope, or equids in this case, attended by one or two drongos, and sometimes, if it's a big herd of animals, you'll find them attended by wattled starlings. The world's fastest zebra photographer cannot find the zebra in his screen. Amazing. Very nice. Oh, there we go. And thank you to many of you who say that I was quite emotional when the zebra was born. So for those of you who don't know what that means, we watched a zebra being born. When was that? That was probably must have been in March, I guess. Maybe a little bit earlier than that. Dave and I watched a zebra being born as the last sort of light of the day faded. It was an emotional time, actually. That's very true. That made me feel happy. It made me feel more amazed, I think, than anything else, though. It was just astounding to watch this little thing stand up. Yeah, that's very true. That was an emotional sighting. Still didn't manage to cry live, though, Brian.
You missed your opportunity.
I missed my opportunity. I'm sure it'll happen one day. Alrighty, let's move on here, just to see if Tingana hasn't perhaps crossed north onto Djuma. We're at the sort of corner between Hofmann's, that's here. Djuma's just the other side of this junction here, on the right-hand side. And Arathusa over there. And this road is regularly used, which is why it is so bumpy. Rutted. Rebecca says I'm getting a bush massage. Rebecca's going to be getting a severe tongue lashing when I return home. Right, we're now at the corner where we have had... It's amazing how this corner, although it is obviously a human barrier, it's not an animal barrier at all, but it is amazing to me how often at this corner we've had territorial animals meeting up, some of whose territories lie to the north and some of whose territories lie to the south. This is basically a boundary for Karula. Yes, she does overlap into Hofmann's, but it's Karula and Shadow's kind of boundary corner, and also used to be for Tundi, not Tundi, yes, Tundi as well. Okay, Brenty is driving around, not sure what he's doing at the moment. Let's go and find out what his plans are for the last bit of the drive. We'll see if Tingana crosses this road.
Well, we just came and went past the Galago Pan where those monkeys were alarming earlier, seeing if we could see any sign of anything, any tracks. No such luck so far. But I'm really looking for some elephants. I really feel like elephants. And hopefully, I know, as a huge favorite of all of our viewers, there's a little male elephant who has been nicknamed Benjamin Button. We haven't seen him in a while. Hopefully, we'll bump into him on this safari. Oh, now that it's warming up a little bit, we could do some birding as well. I feel like we haven't birded for a while. Add some birds to the bird lists, but before that, we have got some mammals. There's a female kudu. Oh, look at that on her side of her face. Can we zoom in there, please? It's just, I thought it was a scar. It's not. She's just been watering out of the eyes. Could be from dust. It could have been from a thorn or something that hooked her. It almost looked like a big scar, but it's not. Just a little bit of sleep, as we would call it. Now she's eating drying we go. She's eating drying buffalo thorn leaves, and she's probably only been able to reach those because it looks like that branch was broken by an elephant. Obviously still some nutrients in there, otherwise she wouldn't be eating. Now that is another thorny tree, the buffalo thorn. Carol in New York is wondering, why do so many trees have thorns in Africa? Well, if you think about it, Carol, the trees here have to have defense mechanisms because there's so many things that eat them. There you go, some impala behind her. So that's why trees have developed thorns. It's to protect themselves from browsing species. Oh, there's some impala running through with the joy of life. Oh, there's some more kudu up ahead. Her ears look a little bit too focused. No, she's just listening to where those impala were running. Now, Justin S. is wondering, are there any trees in the bush that are an eye irritant, similar to pepper spray? Well, there's a couple. If you get the milky latex from them on your fingers and you rub your eyes, it's worse than pepper spray. They can cause blindness. One of those is the tumbuti tree, and the other is a euphorbia. There's some more kudu. And what are you going to eat? What are you going to eat next? Oh, there we go. She's actually gone for another little buffalo thorn. Now, buffalo thorn is one of our evergreen trees, and it is very important for the browsing species. So the species that eat leaves, especially in a drought like today. Oh, today, this year. Sorry about that. We're going to let them wander off, and I think we're going to keep looking for elephants, but we're going to do a bit of a bird focus for the next little while. I feel like I haven't been birding properly in a while, but it has been difficult to bird with all the big cats we've had around. So let's see if we can add a few new species to your bird lists. So if there are any new viewers out there, of course we see all these wonderful animals like the impala and the kudu and lions and leopards, but also we do like to look at our birds. I love birding, a very big fan of bird watching. So a lot of our viewers keep a lovely bird list, so we encourage you to do the same. And speaking of birds, it seems like James is on feathered form this morning.
That's very nice alliteration from Brent Smith there. Feathered form. A bit of a silhouetted feathered form there, but I'm going to allow you the opportunity to decide for yourselves what this bird with the foul voice is. That is not a singing voice to be jealous of, would you say, Brian?
No.
Mm-mm.
There it is.
There it is, everyone. The lilac-breasted roller, tone-deaf, and growling its song. Now, I think that these two, there's a couple here, I think that they are making a nest in this tree. I've seen a pair of them on this tree twice in a row now. Let's just watch. Straight into the nest. Ha! Look. How fantastic is that? Now I wonder if Mrs. isn't inside there, perhaps already incubating. It's very early for them though, I would have thought. They're having a lover's tiff perhaps over the decorating. What do you think, Brian?
Probably.
Definitely, he's not happy. I'm saying he, that could be the female, I don't know. It's impossible to tell the difference. Yes, I know. Just remember it's her house, my friend. Don't ever mistake it for your own. Yes, I know. Ah, it's difficult. It's just like it was her wedding, so it is her house. It's just the way it is. Yes, you'll have to get over it. Well, you can fight it if you like. It really is a voice to rival the foulest of any. I think the crow has the worst voice. Let's just see if he goes, like I said, it could easily be she. Let's just see if he or she goes back towards that hole. Scott Dyson would be most proud of me that we've managed to find this nest. And for those of you who don't know, Scott was a presenter here for a while, and he had the most uncanny ability to find things like scorpions and nests and that sort of thing. Oh, look, 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 look. There we go. Straight in. How cool is that? Oh, I think that's fantastic. I can hear them talking inside there. Can you hear them, Brian? Yeah. They're just talking quietly to them. Oh, it's all the way in. It's so cool. Let's see if he comes out again. He's very comfortable now, sitting on the couch, on his porch, observing the world go by outside. So maybe try and find... This is so exciting. I can't believe we found this. This is so cool. Now, I know I'm going to miss the photograph, but I have to just quickly check how many eggies they lay. Scott's nest last year had 2 little chicks in it, and I think it's only 2 eggs that they lay. R for roller. Monogamous and fiercely territorial. Nests in a natural tree cavity, obviously, or sometimes a large woodpecker hole. That's a woodpecker hole. It's definitely been cleaned out. And it says on this brilliant bird app, not very vocal. Well, in this case, that is an inescapable untruth. Aerial display, blah, 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 blah. 2 to 4 eggies. Broad oval. Yeah, 2 fresh eggs in one nest in one day suggests egg dumping. So egg dumping means that they lay them all at one time. Many birds will lay eggs sort of one day at a time, so the chicks are born at slightly different sizes. Well, they're all born the same size, but they grow so quickly that they changed size very quickly. And so you've always got slightly, you can tell which ones were born first. This is just magnificent. Just want to see if he comes out again, he or she. But that is obviously the selected nest site. Could be shouting at us, you know, it's not impossible. Come on, out you come. do wonder what that bird is saying, why it would be talking like that. Back in. Just wait and see. It's often a precursor to them sort of shooting out like a cannonball. Or settling down for the day, as this would seem to be the case. All right. Shall we pack it in, Brian? How very, very entertaining indeed. While we go away from here, we can head past Treehouse Dam, see what's going on there. Let's head across to Brent and see how his feathered morning, I couldn't think of another F. We'll see you later.
So I'm looking for a bird party at the moment, and quite often you'll have up to 7 or 8 species traveling in a bird party together. But unfortunately my bird party hotspots have not been producing the goods so far. So I'm moving away from the crest where I was looking for a bird party that has normally helmet shrikes, southern black tits, cisticulars, white-browed scrub robin, and I'm not finding any, so I'm going to head down towards one of the little dry river systems, and maybe we'll find a bird party along in the thickets there, but hopefully we'll see something before then. Now, of course, you can bird watch wherever you are in the world. All you need is a good pair of binoculars, and even the last time I traveled to North America, I was bird watching on my travels, and the first bird I recorded on my North American bird list was the Canada goose in Seattle, literally outside of the hotel where I was staying. And I was lucky enough to see, or while I was in that Seattle area, I also got to see my first bear ever on one of the islands in the Puget Sound. Just ambling down the road. This is my only bear sighting. I would love to get to go see grizzlies and polar bears one day, and I'm sure I've got a long list of things I want to go see, and I'm sure one day I'll hopefully get to most of them. I can't even hear a bird at the moment. This is quite unusual. Of course, it's because I'm looking for birds now that they have decided to become very scarce. Maybe we should just follow James around. He seems to be having all the feathered form this morning. Now, hi Simon. Simon says we mostly see yellow-billed hornbills, but are there crowned hornbills on the property, and when was the last one seen? Crowned hornbills will probably move through. They won't be resident, especially with the drought. They're going to prefer slightly wetter areas, but we do also have 2 other. What is that in the tree there? It's very, very harsh light, but what have we got there? I think I know what it is, but it is going to be very much of a silhouette of a bird. And Simon, I will... Indeed, it is a very silhouetted lilac-breasted roller, so we're not going to spend too much time. I know you guys have had a lovely sighting with James. So talking about the hornbill species, Jamie heard trumpeter hornbills, which is also not one we see too often here around the lodge the other morning, but we do get the grey hornbill, the red-billed hornbill, and of course the largest hornbill species, the ground hornbill. We also haven't seen or heard ground hornbills for a while. This could be because of the drought. They might have moved into an area where there's more potential food. Okay, so I can hear some birds now. We got to the thickets. Hear a white-browed scrub robin calling, but quite far off. Where are all the bird parties? And Simon, I will have a look for the other hornbill species as we move around. Hopefully we will be able to find the grey hornbill, which I think is my favorite. I just really love their call, and the red-billed hornbill as well. Eggsy, where are the birds? You chased them away. Now, of course, as I was saying, birding is something that you can do anywhere. And there's even urban birding safaris you can take yourself on. And one of the sort of, the special, the sort of big tick on the urban birding safari around the world is an incredible bird. It's also the fastest bird in the world. But I'm going to talk about that in a second, because while I keep looking for birds, I keep finding large mammals. And there we go. We've got 2 male giraffe. There's one feeding off a tambuti tree, and the other feeding off what looks to be a saffron or gardenia. I can't really see from this distance. Here we go. Now, 2 males this close together and 2 adult males. There's 2 reasons that might be, and they are the complete opposite. One is that there's a female who might be coming to estrus close by somewhere, but the more likely reason is that there's no female in estrus close by. A big adult giraffe bull. And they're eating a lot of tambuti trees at the moment. Normally they only eat tambutis when they've got an infestation of internal parasites in their stomachs. But I think it's probably the fact that there's so little to eat around that the tambutis are making up a big part of the giraffe's diet at the moment. So we'll leave the giraffes to munch on their tambuti trees while we continue our search for birdies. Now, Christina Cafe would like to know, what is the most incredible act of animal survival I've ever witnessed? Oof, that's a difficult one. I've seen probably buffalo and hippo come back from some of the most incredible wounds. I mean, massive scarring, and massive gashes, loss of blood. And for weeks we've thought, oh, he's going to die today, he's going to die today. And I've seen them come back from that. But I've also seen lions come back from incredible damage. But I think the most incredible act of animal survival, I unfortunately have not seen it myself, but I have seen a video of it, is of a 2-legged hyena. And so it lost both its back legs, and I think if you YouTube it, you might be able to find a clip of it. And it's absolutely astounding how this hyena operates only on its 2 front legs. I think that is possibly, for me, one of the most incredible African animal survival stories. No birds on my birding hotspots. I have to throw the net a bit wider. So back to the urban birding. So one of the sort of the big tick, the mega tick in urban birding, and actually in most large cities in the world. Oh look, it's James, who finds all the birds. Here we go. He's running away from me. Watch, he's going to disturb a bird now. What a clown. And so we don't want to talk to him if he doesn't want to talk to us. Let's continue on. But as we're talking about urban birding and the mega tick, before we get distracted by something else, it is the peregrine falcon, which is also the fastest animal in the world. And it can reach terminal velocity over 200 kilometers an hour in its vertical dive for prey. Now, London, New York, I've seen them in London. I haven't seen them in New York. I saw one in LA, of all places. And so they have become adapted to living in that urban environment. Johannesburg, there's actually quite a few breeding pairs. And they're actually at the big sporting stadiums. They encourage in South Africa that the falcons reside in the sporting stadiums because it keeps the flying rats away. The flying rats is, of course, the pigeons, vile creatures, but in the urban environment, that is their main source of food, is they hunt those pigeons. So in quite a lot of cities, peregrine falcons are encouraged. And in Johannesburg, at the main rugby stadium, they've actually sort of put up special nesting boxes and stuff to encourage the peregrine falcons to nest there, and it's worked, because you now are at a lot less risk of being defecated on by a flying rat while watching sport, because of the incredible peregrine falcons. Now, we're going to continue looking for a bird party while we do that. Let's go back to James to see if he's found his way back to the road.
I must apologize for that, everybody. Sometimes I don't know what happened there. Let's leave it there. Right, we're going to hopefully find a few birds along this road called Ingwe Alley, which means leopard alley. But given that we know Karula and both babies are on Hofmann's, that no tracks of Tinganana came across this way, he's quite possibly there. But maybe Mvula. Yes, there we go. So there was an educational aspect to what we did. Thank you, X-Ranger. You say it was very interesting to see the bush bounce up again after I ran over it. Yes, indeed, I agree with you. And I know that it may have looked a little reckless, but I do promise you that it was done with due consideration. And we are very careful about which trees we run over. In fact, to the extent that yesterday, I unfortunately ran over a tambuti tree because I thought it was dead, and it popped up again, and then I noticed on the other side that it had some green leaves, and I felt very bad, and I told Eggsy I felt very bad, and I did genuinely feel very bad. So yes, we try and be careful about what we run over. But I'm glad that one popped up again, especially as you were watching me. Wasn't the most ideal situation, but unfortunately I was in it, and I was unable to stop myself. You see, it's my theatrical nature. Brian, there are some crested francolins, and as we are birding a little bit at the moment, let us have a look at them. Can you see them? They seem to be hiding from you. There they come. There we are. Crested francolin. And as I was saying the other day, if you catch them, especially with that other long lens, if you get them close up, the colours and different patterning on their feathers is quite astounding. There they go. One of 5 species. This Svenson's with the red head, the other one. The Natal spurfowl with its pink bill, one of them, Coqui francolin with its gold head, and the Shelleys, which is not that sort of very beautiful when you see them, difficult to describe, but they have that amazing call. It's so rhythmic. I was hoping Brian would join me there, but he's left me to hang. The crested francolin, of course, the very first sound you hear in the morning. Well, the second sound you hear. Normally it's the grey-headed sparrow that begins the morning chorus. It's a bit like a conductor tapping on the lectern. Tick, 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 before the brass section of the Franklins begins, the fanfare, to herald the arrival of the sun. I think the orchestra is on leave at the moment, though. Very little singing in the morning. A skeleton orchestra, perhaps the odd janitor picking up the instruments and blowing into them a little bit. There are no leopards on Leopard Alley, Brian. No. Just 3 crested franklins. I did see a leopard orchid, but we played that joke the other day, Brian. Yes, there's a leopard orchid. Ha, ha, ha. Right up there with zebra crossing, eh? Yes. Oh, here's something quite interesting. Brent Leo Smith doing his clown impersonation. Of course, it is important that all clowns do impersonations of clowns in this region. Now, what we have here is a silver cluster leaf tree. You can see that it has been decimated by a herd of elephants, but also you can see over here, can you see this, Brian? Yes. You can see it is growing again, and it is not dead. And I just cannot get over how amazing these trees are and how many, possibly hundreds, maybe, and I don't think thousands, but maybe hundreds of years these trees have lived and been broken and grown up again, and how their shape has been so profoundly changed by the existence of the great pachyderm. This looks like something would like to live in it. Let me just have a quick look, everyone. I will retrieve my torch. Another lesson I learned from Scott when looking for nests and things. One doesn't want to find a cobra sticking its head out. Does one, Brian? No. No, that would make me scared, and I'd possibly say a bad word. There's nothing living in there at the moment. I've no doubt at some stage during its history something lived in there, and something might go back. It's just quite low down on the ground, so something like those barbets or rovers probably wouldn't go in there. Hello, Justin. Yes, you're absolutely correct. You say you feel like the elephants make it easier for us to collect firewood. They most certainly do make it easier for us to collect firewood. Firewood collection, though, you must remember, in the wilderness is, well, excuse me. Cool. Most people do it. But remember, every piece of bush, I mean, you know, you've been on bushwalk with Steph, or with me, or with Brent, and Jamie. You know that Herbert finds scorpions and spiders and grubs and millipedes and termites in just about every piece of dry wood that there is lying on the ground here that the elephants have pushed over. And so when you go and collect firewood, I think for a long time we thought, well, we're just collecting dead wood, it doesn't make any difference. It does, it makes a huge difference. And there's a huge movement now where it starts, you know, the consideration is, well, you don't collect firewood, you must grow it specifically for fire if you want it. Because to go and collect dry wood in an area like this, you know, just looks like a huge sort of a resource that's untapped. It isn't. It's a whole ecosystem living in every single little piece of fallen wood here. And it's something to consider. Well, I think anyway. And I've made a mistake, everybody. Many of you have pointed out that I did actually cry on air once. That is true. I did cry. I did a hippo drawing once, everybody, and I became hysterical. I became hysterical with laughter, and tears began to well and flow out of my eyes. Thank you for reminding me of that. I've cried on air, Brian.
Well done.
All right, we're going to say goodbye to you now. We will hopefully see you this afternoon. We'll definitely see you this afternoon, 3 o'clock this afternoon. I'm going to hand you back over to Eggsy there. There he is. And Eggsy is with Brent, of course. And there is the thumb, bidding you a formal Thursday farewell. Bye-bye.
So we finally found a bird. It is a very small bird, and it's keeping Eggsy very busy as it hops around in the tree. Now, of course, it is a silhouetted bird. Now let's see. This is going to be a test for our serious birders. What bird is that? Look at that. So this is a nice, difficult one for you guys to identify. So if you know the answer to what little bird is hopping around in that knobthorn, send us an email, questions@wildearth.tv, or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Hey, well, we're going to leave that little bird because we're blocking James. And he's stuck behind us, so we will go forward so he can keep moving. Now, Blue Butterfrog would like to know, do the cameramen know the names of the birds in the trees as well as the guides do? Eggsy? He is learning. I would say the cameramen probably know it more than some safari guides, but I think maybe in a couple of months or years they might catch up with the guides. But they are also very focused on the camera operation, so they sometimes don't listen, and they've got to listen to us for a lot of time, day after day. So I think certain cameramen definitely. Now you had a lilac-breasted roller with James. No, don't fly into the sun, you terrible bird. But disappearing into the white light. There's a purple roller. They're just not playing along with Eggsy and I, the birds, today. And we will keep trying. And I was hoping to at least get another hornbill species, but even they are proving to be quite scarce. Or if we do see them, they seem to take off. Well done to James, Richard and Bridget. You are spot on, 100% correct. It is indeed a little crombeck. Now, come on. Bird! One of the more common bird species that we see, the Cape turtle dove. But interestingly, off to the left of the Cape turtle dove is one of the birds we were looking for, not a yellow-billed hornbill, but a red-billed hornbill. So you can see slightly built. The beaks are not as prominent, but very similar behaviorally to a yellow-billed, and he's digging through the sand and dung, trying to find any tasty treats. Oh, he found 1, 2, 3. They are such funny looking creatures. I do love the way they move. Now, there we go. So fortunately, some of the birds came along to play in the last few seconds of the sunrise safari, but exciting prospects for the sunset safari, Nkuhumas and cubs, and I think we're going to have a really wonderful time in a few short hours. But from Eggsy and myself, it's been absolutely splendid having you on the back of the vehicle with us, and maybe our feathered form will equal James on the sunset safari, or maybe James's feathered form will continue. He seems to be on a purple patch when it comes to the birds. I'm a little jealous. But as I said, we'll be doing this all again in a few short hours at 3 p.m. Central African time. It's been wonderful having you in the glorious African dawn. We'll see you just now.